Jennifer Spangler. I'm the Arts Education Coordinator for the Butte County Office of Education, and this is Take 5 for Arts Ed. Today we are welcoming Tim Taylor, the Executive Director of the Small School Districts Association. Well, thanks again, Tim. Great to see you.
Nice to see you.
What is the first arts experience you remember?
My first arts experience I remember was finger paint in preschool. I had a great preschool teacher. Her whole room was art. I'll never forget. I was only 4 years old, but you don't forget putting your fingers in that wet paint and letting it dry. And, you know, it's just one of those things where you bring it home to your family, right? It's the only thing you have is a little preschool, and you bring it home, your mom puts it on the refrigerator, and all your siblings look at it, and still have a couple pieces of those left. They're probably worth millions now, but I just thought, you know, that really got me launched into that. I was very fortunate during that experience to be in Santa Clara Unified, who had a really great arts infused program all throughout my elementary school. But it really kicked off at that preschool. I mean, they really utilized the arts well, and I'll never forget the wet paint on my fingertips.
Wow, I remember the smell too.
Yeah, you can't ever forget that.
What is your favorite art form and why?
Oh, Jennifer, why are you doing this to me? I truly do love all forms of art. I so respect artists that can have such courage to get out there and show their dance, music, theater, sculpture, everything. But if I had to pick one, if you only gave me one, I'm going to go with music. I think it's something that has really helped me out as a person all throughout my life. I just love all genres of music. So that one sticks out more than me than any of them. You can also almost infuse everything else into that, right? You can do dance and theater around the music.
Okay, this next one is really easy for you because I've heard you answer this before. Why do you value the arts for students?
Well, I mean, you can dive deep into all the research, right, and how wonderful it is, and the outcomes for kids academically. But to me, it's deeper than that. It's really about how children can build their self-confidence and self-worth within the arts. You see kids grow within the art that they fall for. It gives them a nice discipline and love of something. And then now that the older I get and watch all of our trauma and mental health, I just see so many kids heal through the arts. You know, as the superintendent during that campfire in the beginning, when those 5,000 kids lost their homes and were affected by that, we utilized the arts quickly to help heal the children, right? It gave them an outlet for their trauma they were experiencing, and teachers did a great job of immediately as they came back to school after losing their town. The arts really helped them. And then I think two other things that are important to me, art's fun, right? I think that's a missing component we've seen definitely during the COVID is where's the fun at? And when arts were pulled from the children during this COVID era, so did the fun factor, right? And you see the joy in kids' faces when they're back now and they're singing and dancing and doing their artwork and infusing it in all their curricular activities. I think the last one, it's one of the few things I think we really teach in K-12 that's lifelong. It's a lifelong skill and a love of something that you teach. Others can take you so far, but art's something you can carry with you forever. And I think it's very important as educators that we embrace that and embrace the arts because it really is truly a lifelong skill that we're teaching them.
Wonderful, thanks, Tim. And how did you support arts education in your role as the Butte County Office of Education Superintendent?
Yeah, I think in any role as a leader of a school or school district or a department, you have to truly, I think, begin by really being the advocate of the arts, right? Not just saying it. A lot of people say they're the advocates of the arts. So in order to build momentum, you have to start taking some baby steps. So we started out, I think, in Butte County. It was coming right out of that recession where the arts were decimated. They were pretty much eliminated all throughout the state. So how do you rebuild that momentum to get people to go back and to believe in the arts? And so we started with little things like an employee art show, right? And I always feel like a good travel agent, if you're going to send people to somewhere, to one of your visions, you got to do it with them. So we started out with an employee art show where staff goes, wow, this superintendent likes arts. And then I think you start with little things where you just really celebrate the arts, go around to campuses, the county soup. And when kids are, you're in classrooms, you're really highlighting their artwork that they do. So it really is a grassroots effort of leadership. You can't just sit there and say, I'm a supporter of the arts. Yeah, well, what have you done? Well, you really have to get involved with it. You have to be part of the schools that are working on it. And you really got to latch onto the teachers that really are truly understanding how the arts help with the academics and everything, and make them your leaders. I think the other thing we do is you have to lead with the funding you have. You're a county office and you have funding, and it's your job, I feel, to fund a position within the county office to help support the arts. In our case, we did that right away. We did a strategic plan and brought together all the associations. I think it was the first time in our county we had something that deep, and it was great bringing all the partnered agencies. And then that momentum starts to build, and we started doing juried art shows for the high schools. I think we had our first year 11 high schools, which is big in Butte County, submit their artwork. That gave another message that children that are really going to study the arts in the next level in college in their career were able to showcase their work against the other best artists. And then lastly, all of a sudden you become like everybody goes, oh, that person loves the arts, they truly do it. And we were able to secure a $3 million arts grant for the region. And I think people funded us and Jennifer, your team, they funded you guys because they knew that we were going to deliver the resources to all these rural communities. It was a nine county consortium, and all that started, I think, from our grassroots effort and grabbing a couple of people that want to go with you and truly bring back the arts. And I think that was a really good way to do it.
Well, how are you making a place for the arts in your sphere of influence as the executive director of the Small School Districts Association?
Well, I think clearly we represent 62% of the schools. Majority of them are in rural areas where there's a huge equity gap in the arts. So it's my mission to work at the national level, the National Rural Association, the National Arts Association, to expose and really highlight that these rural communities deserve more access to the arts. When you're in a smaller community, there's usually not a theater, there's usually not kind of the plethora of support you can get in a large urban area. So I'm taking what we worked on over the years in Butte and really expanding it out statewide. We're even working in a 5-state consortium with Arizona, Oregon, and Utah, and Nevada. And this is another area that we really are adamant about. So it's the same thing. I think you have to grab leaders from different regions and states, look at the data, look at what the rural kids are not getting access to, and fight the fight. I think it's very clear that those children need more resources, and we're really starting to create some success around that. I'm very proud of that work.
Wow. Finally, last question. What advice would you give an upcoming leader at a site, district, county, organization in arts education?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you really have to put this on the top and the front burner of what you do. If you go to a great visual performing arts centered school, elementary, high school, middle school, you can feel it the minute you walk on the campus. You see the culture's different. It's more positive. Kids are anxious to be at school. There's just a better feel. There's better academic performance. So you really, as a leader, have to do that. I think we don't get enough training of what truly arts education is when we're in our leadership cohorts. We do a lot of stuff around accountability, data, reading, math, and all that. And so you have to personally make that your initiative. The second thing, and this is, I've lived off this my whole life, you have to go visit the great programs. If you want to see a great small rural visual performing arts school, if you go over to Happy Valley Mountain School District and Happy Valley in Santa Cruz, they only have about 150 kids. They have a full-time art teacher, a full-time visual performing arts teacher, and a full-time PE teacher, all working in conjunction together. And that superintendent principal has raised money to keep those jobs funded for over 15 years. You have to go see that. It's very doable, but you can't just say, I'm going to be an arts leader and not go visit the best programs and find out who they are. And then secondly, you have to let it be known that you are in your blood and in your passion is the arts, and hook up with people like CCSESA Arts. Jennifer, hook up with people like you and get that information. You got to start getting connected. You will not, in a local local world succeed very well unless you get yourself outside of that. And then I think the last thing for an up and coming leader is you absolutely have to be adamant on how you obtain funding. It's always going to be a battle, but you still have to keep fighting and getting extra income. So you have to learn how to be entrepreneurial. You have to have your story ready to go, why the arts is important for your campus. And you have to utilize empower your youth leadership groups to help make that message out to your chambers, your rotaries, your universities, or anybody else who's willing to listen to you.
Tim, it's such a pleasure and so inspiring to hear your words. Thanks so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. And I think in closing, I have a philosophy that people fund people. So if you're passionate about the arts and you get out there and fight for that, people will fund you. Everybody's got an idea about the arts, but it's all about the people who are trying to lead this initiative to get the funding. So get out there and do your part to keep the arts live. And I'm going to give you a 5.
Thanks for joining us on Take 5 for Arts Ed.